Hey, I'm Hannah, and today we're going to talk about our relationship to ourself as it applies to living with type 1 diabetes. If you don't know me, I'm a doctor. I've had type 1 diabetes for 20 years, and I trained in general health, diabetes, and lifestyle medicine. So, really looking at how the way that we set up our lifestyle can impact our overall sense of well being today and long term in our lives. But what I want to talk about specifically is our relationship to ourselves and how type 1 diabetes can impact that, and how our relationship to ourselves with type 1 diabetes is really important to work on or find peace with if we haven't already. I've seen a lot of patients go through a kind of processing after a diagnosis of really understanding what their life will look like in the future with type 1 diabetes. But it also really gives us a chance to reevaluate what life means to us, what our purpose is here, why things happen the way they do. I think this kind of sense of grief after a diagnosis can bring so much challenge, there's no question, but it can be one of the eye-opening, gratifying, humbling, and grounding experiences as well. And how we come out of that process of grief and grieving after a diagnosis can set us up for how we feel about ourselves and transform our relationship with ourselves long term in any direction. And so really taking time to focus on how can we learn to love ourselves with type 1 diabetes, learn to create a good relationship with what it means for ourselves is crucial for feeling good and creating a happy, healthy life with type 1 diabetes long term. And so I learned most of this, I would say, through personal experience. I have seen these patterns happen to my patients. They've explained to me things that I have felt very similarly throughout the process of diagnosis and different chapters of life as we change how we're doing things with type 1 diabetes or what we're doing in life and bringing diabetes with us. But really, I think this part of understanding what it means to you is absolutely most important. You'll learn that there are so many opinions about type 1 diabetes, especially what it means for you with type 1 diabetes. So your parents might have an opinion, and your best friend might have another opinion, and your doctor might have another opinion, and some random girl on YouTube might have a different opinion. There are all these opinions about what type 1 diabetes can mean for you in your life, but the one that matters absolutely the most is what you choose it to be for you. And it is a choice. I don't think I realized that for a long time. I thought that my relationship with diabetes was completely controlled by what diabetes was or how diabetes was showing up for me in that part of my life. But I realized, and as I realized this, it started to feel a lot better, was that I could choose my relationship with type 1 diabetes. I could choose how I looked at it, how I thought about it, what I knew about it, how I felt about it, what it meant for me in my life. And choosing something that felt good made the difference of living a life where I felt like I was a person with type 1 diabetes and type 1 diabetes was controlling my life, to feeling like I was completely me and type 1 diabetes was just this learning tool that came along with me. And the dichotomy of those experiences is night and day for quality of life in the moment, in my opinion. So understanding that our relationship with type 1 diabetes, one, it's our relationship. It's not what someone else thinks about it for us. Two, it's a choice. It's not something that has to happen based on how diabetes is going for you. And three, the relationship with type 1 diabetes doesn't have to at all be controlled by your numeric outcomes and blood sugar. It can be just the way that you think and feel about it. So if you can separate those things, separate how you're doing with your diabetes management or how you feel with your type 1 diabetes, regardless of what's going on outside. And I think having those decided pieces of what type 1 diabetes means for you takes away the variance in how you feel about life with type 1 diabetes as your blood sugar shifts or as different things become harder or easier for you. You can keep the same relationship regardless of what's going on around you. And for me, that felt like power. That felt the control that I needed to feel safe, to feel certain that I was going to have a good life with type 1 diabetes, to feel positive about where I was going, and to feel good in the moments that I was currently experiencing. It was having a relationship with type 1 diabetes that was not changed by external experiences. And it doesn't mean that it didn't sometimes feel like, this diabetes thing is annoying, or, I wish I had forgotten that, whatever. It doesn't mean that I didn't have positive and negative feelings come up throughout the day, but it meant that I had this stable foundation that I was going to be okay with diabetes, that I was going to be able to do what I wanted to do, and it was not going to hold me back from being who I wanted to be wholly and fully and truly. In fact, it was going to help me get there. And the only way I decided that was by choosing it. It wasn't like I had to find all these pieces of proof or learn more knowledge about it. It was really just choosing it. And so what the process looked like for me, writing that out, what I just said about I'm going to have a good life with diabetes. I'm going to be wholly who I am with type 1 diabetes, who I want to be. It's going to be a tool. It's going to teach me things that are going to help me to become who I want to be, to go where I want to go. It's going to bring these good things to my life. And then your brain will come up tons, for me it was tons, of limiting beliefs about why that wasn't true. And what I did was I wrote down all the limiting beliefs about why I didn't think that was true. So it might mean, but I'm going to have complications because I have type 1 diabetes. Diabetes is going to make me have a lot of low and high blood sugar, so I'm not going to be able to go to medical school because that's too hard academically. Or I'm not going to be able to run that 5K I want to run because it's too complicated figuring out how to change my insulin. Or whatever comes up for you, whatever limiting belief it is, there's no way I can have a better life if my blood sugars are always swinging around compared to somebody who doesn't have that. Whatever your limiting belief is, you write as many as you can think of. And for me, it was almost the sensation of until my brain felt empty, until I couldn't come up with any other things that would prove that initial statement of a choice for a good life with type 1 diabetes would prove it wrong. And then literally this process of going through line by line each limiting belief and deciding differently, or looking at it from a different perspective and trying to do that. And it didn't happen all at once. I wasn't able to turn down or take off a lot of limiting beliefs all in one day. A chunk of them, absolutely. But some of them I needed to gather some more knowledge on to prove my perspective differently. You could sit down with Google or ChatGPT and say, I'm not going to be able to live a long life with type 1 diabetes if that comes up for you. And then Google, what's the oldest person with type 1 diabetes? And I don't even know the answer, but last time I looked, it was definitely somebody old with type 1 diabetes, and they had type 1 diabetes before blood sugar meters were even invented. Understanding, okay, it is possible, so who am I to think it's not possible? And then maybe the next piece is I'm not going to be able to have healthy children with type 1 diabetes. And then go to Instagram and find a mom with type 1 diabetes who has a big healthy family and look at all of her pretty healthy family photos and prove yourself wrong. Whatever you need to do in order to change that assumption in your mind of this negative belief is helpful. Because when you can get rid of all of those limiting beliefs that pop up when you tell yourself you can have a good life with type 1 diabetes, then you can think that and not have any discrepancy in your brain, and you can just go with it. And that's when it feels good and it feels sturdy and it feels stable. And it doesn't mean that more things won't come up in the future that might make you question that thought, but it does mean that you have a foundation to walk on. And if your blood sugar is high or low, you're not there in the back of your head thinking, woe is me, this isn't fair, I'm not going to get to be who I want to be. All that self-chatter that I had completely stopped when I did this process. And it was pretty quick. There were lingering things that popped up months, years later, but I knew how to shift them so they didn't stick around for very long. And I can't think of the last time I thought, I wish I didn't have diabetes. I can't think of the last time I thought, woe is me, like it's not fair that I have type 1 diabetes. That doesn't even cross my mind anymore. Before, I lived by it. Before, it came up 3 times a day every time I had to take insulin for a meal. Before, it was really crushing for who I wanted to be. And so that is my perspective on what worked for me, what I've seen come up for other patients, and a process that might be helpful for you to understand that you can choose your relationship with type 1 diabetes, and it doesn't necessarily mean creating anything different or better than where you are now, other than just taking down those limiting beliefs that pop up when you choose to think that. Thanks for sticking to the end of this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Just a reminder, the link in my bio includes the free support group, access to the diabetes burnout course, and the one-on-one coaching that I have available. If you have any questions, I also have a contact form on my website where you can reach out to me directly, or you can just leave a comment below. I'm still checking those personally, and I'll be able to get back to you with any questions or insight that you have from the video. I am so excited to be doing this. I dreamt about this for years and years and years before I really started to put myself out there online. And if you found that this was helpful, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed and liked the video. That helps me share it with more people with type 1 diabetes. I appreciate you being here and hope to see you at the next one. I'll have another similar video on diabetes and mindset pop up right here, just in case you're interested.